because the author is Mr. M. K. Rana. I'm sure everyone loves बीते कुछ दिनों से जब से मैं सर से बात कर रहा हूँ, ये मेरे गुरु के भी गुरु हैं, मैंने इनके पैर छुए, कहते हैं पलट के तेरे पैर छूऊंगा, उसके बाद आप कुछ बोल ही नहीं सकते. So imagine somebody who has written a book and that too a memoir, which is full of memories. और ऐसे इंसान के साथ बड़ा मुश्किल होता है कि वो अपने बारे में कुछ लिखें, क्योंकि ऐसे इंसान कभी अपना ढोल पीट ही नहीं सकते, जबकि करते बहुत कुछ है, तो वो इस मेमोरीज के थ्रू ही गा सकता है. This book is very special because somebody, a non-conformist like Mr. Rana, as I said, he can never speak about himself. But through this book, you can actually live many lives that he has lived across many places. Through this book, you will come to know about Kashmir through the eyes of a very naughty young boy in Kashmir who used to play on the Dal Lake cricket. आप ये देखेंगे. इस किताब के जरिए इनके नज़रिए से आप 1984 के दंगों के बारे में जानेंगे और बड़े मार्मिक तरीके से लिखा है, जो कि एक NSD ग्रेजुएट द्वारा लिखे उस पूरे लेख में आपको ये भी बताएगा कि how selfless social worker he is, which not many people would relate to him. इस किताब के माध्यम से आप कई और intense social issues उस पूरे फैब्रिक के बारे में जानेंगे. And this book will actually take you into a very beautiful journey, where M. K. Rana is like R.K. Lakshman of the cartoon, where he's just watching. You can see a lot of scenes going on together. So that's why this book is very special today. And many thanks, sir, for choosing all of us to be part of it. And a special thanks to Raza Foundation, to Ashok ji and the entire team for making this happen. And I will not steal the thunder by telling you some more anecdotes from the book. For this meticulously planned evening, we have something very interesting. And I would now request the teams of Dastan Live and Samar Theatre Group to play songs from Shri Rana ji's play. May I request the team to be on the stage, please.
We are going to present some songs from M.K.'s plays. तो पहला गाना जो है वो मुक्त धारा का है, नाटक मुक्त धारा, जो रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर ने लिखा हुआ था और उसको ट्रांसलेट किया था भारत भूषण अग्रवाल ने. इसका म्यूजिक मोहन ओबरेती जी ने किया है. और जब हम इसको रिहर्स कर रहे थे तो गाते गाते एकदम किसी को एक कवि का दोहा याद आ गया, तो हमने उसको भी इसमें शामिल कर दिया. और इट इज पार्ट ऑफ द लाइफ एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ कल्चर एंड थिएटर कि वो स्टैटिक नहीं है, वहाँ रुका हुआ नहीं है, जैसे पढ़ता है पढ़ता चला जाता है. नाम दिए जो तारी है तूने, कौन काम क्या तेरा पूरा हो गया.
तेरा पूरा हो गया.
पराई कुक का. पराई कुक was MK's पंजाबी प्रोडक्शन बेस्ड ऑन ब्रेक्स कॉकेशियन चौक सर्कल. इसका ट्रांसलेशन गानों को लिखता अभितोज का था, जो कि बहुत वेल नोन पोएट थे पंजाब के, और म्यूजिक कमल तिवारी का है. गाना है कबीरा खड़ा बाजार में से, जो भीषम जी ने लिखा था और जिसका संगीत दिया है पंचानन पाठक जी ने. मदर से है। गोर्की ने बुक लिखी थी मदर, जिसपे बर्टोल्ट ब्रेख्ट ने प्ले किया था, और वो प्ले हमने परफॉर्म किया था बहुत साल पहले, तो ये उसका गाना है।
जो सब कुछ करने को तैयार, सभी दफ्तर सुधार करूंगे, सभी अफसर कानूनी किताबें उनकी, कारखाने हथियारों के पादरी प्रोफेसर उनके, जज और ट्रेलर तक उनके, सभी अफसर तो सब कुछ करने को तैयार, सभी अफसर अखबार छापे खाने, हमें अपना बनाने के, बहाने चुप कराने के, नेता और गुंडे तक उनके, सभी अफसर सब कुछ करने को तैयार, सभी दफ्तर एक दिन ऐसा आएगा, पैसा भी काम न आएगा, बड़ा हथियार रह जाएगा, और ये जल्दी ही होगा, ये राजा बदल जाएगा, और ये जल्दी ही होगा, ये राजा बदल जाएगा, राजा बदल जाएगा, राजा बदल जाएगा, राजा बदल जाएगा।
आखिरी गाने में तो जो तालियां हम लोग बजाएंगे आप दिल से बजाएंगे, जैसे आज के कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट बनने भाग गए आपके बिल्कुल कमाल हो गया, बहुत बहुत बाकी मैंने सुना भाई दिल्ली वाले बड़े दिल वाले होते हैं, तालियों में आप थोड़ा कंजूसी करते हैं, तो एक बार और क्योंकि अपने दफ्तरों से थोड़ा जल्दी निकले होते हैं, तो आप यहाँ जो प्लानिंग के सीन चल रहे हैं जिसको हम प्रिपरेशन सीन कहते हैं, तो आपको बड़ा मजा आता चल रहा है कि रहना साहब पीछे कोने में सुन रहे थे कि आवाज ठीक आ रही, ये सुर थोड़ा ऊपर करो, और आप देखते हैं कि कृति मोहन जी और टीम ने कितनी मेहनत करी है, क्योंकि जो परफेक्शनिस्ट हो यहाँ पर अशोक जी तब तक आ रहे थे, पीछे खड़े मुस्कुरा रहे थे, मेरे साथ धीमे से कहते हैं कि रहना को समय लगेगा, तो जल्दी प्रिपरेशन हो तो बड़ा कमाल होता है। और ऐसा ही कुछ आपको इस किताब में भी मिलेगा, जिसके अगले सत्र पे हम इस कार्यक्रम के अगले सत्र पे जाते हैं, और क्योंकि अभी किताब की बात हो गई है और मैं और शोरवाला बात कर रहे थे कि बड़ा कमाल है, किताब को विमोचन करें, किताब आपके हाथों में है और किताब लिखा भी लगी है, लेकिन ये एक प्रक्रिया है, ये फॉर्मेलिटी है, बिल्कुल करनी चाहिए, एक सम्मेलन है, तो मैं इस किताब के विमोचन के लिए आग्रह करूँगा श्री अशोक वाजपेयी जी से कि मंच पर आए, मैं आग्रह करूँगा जी से, शोरबा जी से, और बाकी से मैं ये भी रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा कि हमारे कुछ और मेहमान अतिथि जो हैं जिनको मंच पर बुलाएं, प्लीज।
सेंटर में खोले
किताब के कुछ खास पन्नों में से पढ़ के सुना है। दुर्गा जी ने सुनाएंगे तो कौन सुनाएगा? एक बड़े कमाल के अदाकार, एक आर्टिस्ट जो कि दिल्ली के इन्हीं चतुर्भुज गलियारों में थिएटर सीखते रहे बचपन से। बड़ी लंबी फहरिस्त है उनके काम की, जिसको मुझे लगता है आप गूगल का इस्तेमाल करिए, वो मुझसे ज़्यादा जल्दी सुना देगा। मैं ऐश्वर्या जी का आमंत्रित करूँगा आपको, प्लीज।
शुक्रिया। तो मैं 3 किस्से बोलूँगा किताब से। The first one is from page 95. The next morning, Saeed wanted to interview some hardcore Khalistanis, but they were difficult to find. Madan Gopal Singh, through his family contacts, helped us through a lot of this difficulty. We were directed to meet a contact who would guide us to a certain location, and if the Khalistani agreed to talk, we could possibly get an interview. So, at the scheduled time, we arrived at the place, a muhalla. After negotiating our way through really narrow lanes, there a Sardar waited for us. He led us on a scooter, and after traveling through many more narrow and zigzagging lanes, we reached an ordinary brick house in the old city of Patiala. Here we had to wait for another 50 minutes, and we were still not sure whether the man we were to interview would show up or not. While waiting, we learned that this fellow could not move freely in the city as he was wanted by the police. After a long wait, a young Sikh in an orange turban arrived, riding a pillar on a scooter. He was in a hurry and was tense, and upon meeting us, immediately started ordering us around. We had already fixed our camera, so he sat down facing it. Suddenly, he got very upset and shouted, "I am not facing the camera. I will not show my face to the people. I will only show my back to the camera." Finally, it was I, as interviewer, who faced the camera. As I started with the questions, he flatly refused to enter into any kind of question-answer conversation on any discussion. He rudely warned me, "You listen to me. Do not interrupt when I am talking. You Hindu, you better listen to me." Unnerved by his hostility, I kept quiet, and Saeed signaled to me to continue. For almost an hour, I sat silently facing the camera as his monologue continued. It was crazy and bizarre. I did not know how to respond to it, so I did not, whatever he said. But I also did not give a damn until he stopped his solo performance. What he talked about in his monologue was what we already knew about Vrindanwari and his ideology. He was angry with the Arya Samaj people. He called them Gaddars. His sense of history was convoluted. There was no chronology or consistency in his monologue. The funny thing was that our cameraman could not even switch off his camera even to change the takes. So the camera stayed in the recording mode even when it was not recording. Since the atmosphere around us was so overcharged, our cameraman on his own had quietly switched off the camera until the man stopped talking. It really ended up being a comic interlude which takes place in between the main scenes of a theatre performance. After finishing his solo performance, the man left immediately. We all looked at each other. We did not know whether to laugh or to cry. We had recorded a full tape of his so-called interview, though the video had been switched off. It was his interpretation of the crisis and the demands of the Khalistanis. His presentation was filled with hatred and contempt for the state of India. But yes, one got an idea and a small peek into the thinking of the Khalistanis from his monologue. The next one that I will read out is an This one pertains to an incident that N.K. Raina Sahab witnessed in a phone booth in Srinagar. During the 4 weeks from morning to late evening that this workshop progressed, every day we made calls to our families in Delhi. It became a routine that followed all these weeks, as we knew our families back home would worry because there was no peace in the valley yet. Mobile phones had not arrived yet, so we used a PCO booth just outside the main gate of the university to make our calls. One day, I went to make a call, but I had to wait behind 4 people in line, waiting to make their call. After the person already on the call left, it was the turn of a CRPF Jawan to make his call. He picked up the receiver and started talking to someone. We could hear what this Jawan said, but could only imagine what the person on the other side must have been saying. The Jawan's conversation went like this. Ja, कैसे हो? यहाँ तो ठीक नहीं। अरे अम्मा को बोलने दो। अरे तुम फिक्र मत करो। तुम अपने अम्मा के पास चले जाओ। मैं अभी मिल नहीं सकता। तुम रोना मत। सुन, अपने को संभालो। मैं हूं ना। तुम बच्चे को लेकर अपने मां के पास जा। मैं हूं ना। मैं हूं ना। मैं हूं ना. It went on for a long period. We watched the meter, already showing more than 200 rupees. It soon crossed 250 rupees. His repeated refrain, "Main hoon na," started haunting me. After a few seconds, he paid up for his call, which was more than 250 rupees. Very quietly picked up his gun, put his purse in his pocket, walked out of the booth, crossed the road, and stood there on duty for the rest of the day. All present at the booth fell silent. We all understood the Jawan's story and his helplessness. Those 3 words, "Main hoon na," hit me so hard that I didn't feel I could call my wife to tell her all is well here and I'm fine and I'm there for you. The situation here looked normal, but anything could happen in a matter of seconds. Many years have passed since this telephone incident, and who knows what happened to the CRPF Jawan. But those 3 words still haunt me. Main hoon na. Now I'll read from a very personal incident in N.K. Raina Saab's life, and this will give you an idea of what was happening in those years in Srinagar. It relates to his mother. Fear of death had reached such a level that people had become indifferent to others and relationships were turning absurd. Being alive became paramount, the reason for one's existence. The centuries-old links of interdependence that existed among neighbors were washed away. No one talked to each other. Nobody looked at each other. The majority, in their helplessness, just kept quiet and let all this happen to the minorities. And the minorities left. For where, they themselves did not know. Strict, indefinite curfew had been imposed for days now. We last for just about 2 hours in the morning. On 25th January 1990, I was at home and my brother was at the hospital. My mother had spent 14 days in a coma. I discussed the various possible modalities of our travel to Delhi. It was a cold and dark night. Around 8:30 p.m., a knock came on the ground floor window. The entire family fell silent. A knock in the night was dangerous. The sound of terrorists when they came and demanded anything they wanted or killed a person whom they suspected was against what they stood for. The knock could be for a Pandit or Muslim. For some time we did not know what to do. And I heard the voice of my brother asking us to open the window. When I opened the window, there he stood, exhausted and with tears in his eyes, saying, "The story is over. Come out and take her in. She's outside in the ambulance." I understood that my mother was no more. In the pitch dark of the winter night, we brought my mother's body in from the vehicle. There was no electricity in the city, but some cops with their torches lit the lane so that we could carry the body home without any problem. As per custom, the body was placed on the floor and an earthen lamp was lit. We all sat around the body for quite some time in silence. My 2 little nephews didn't understand much, both looking at us and then at their grandmother, but not uttering a word. My 3 cousins offered great help and support. The next day was 26 January 1990, a Friday and Republic Day of India. in Srinagar, the government had ordered a complete shutdown and shoot at sight orders, which meant no movement on the roads. Everybody had to stay indoors. My brother told me that he had a tough day at the hospital. My mother had passed away during the day, but there was no way to bring her body home. Nobody from the hospital helped to give him a vehicle to take my mother's body home. As the orders for a shutdown had been announced, nobody in the hospital wanted to take any initiative. It was that boy whom I had met in the corridor that day and who had taken the 10 rupee donation from me, who had helped. He had swung into action, yelling at the medical officer to provide a vehicle for the person who had died. My mother's body was lifted into the vehicle by a bakadwala. A fellow attended with another patient in the room. My brother told me that the young man said he would have accompanied the body, but you know, times being bad, I cannot. Give my condolences to your brother. Through those pitch dark roads, without headlights and with no street lights, my brother had brought the remains of my mother home. It had taken the driver more than an hour to travel a distance that would usually take only 15 minutes. The funeral seemed impossible. My father had advised us not to worry, we could postpone it and see how things would unfold the next day. All night I did not rest. My mind was stuck on how my mother's cremation could take place and on time. I felt it was the right to a funeral, and it had to happen on time. Things were so bad that even our next door neighbor did not know there had been a death in our house. The roads were sealed and telephone lines cut. My uncle had a telephone, which he had voluntarily disconnected by cutting off the cable lines from the lamppost, in case he was suspected of being an informant to the security forces. The distrust among people had reached such a level that there was suspicion between father and son, brother and brother, and Pandit and Muslim. The best way to be safe was to disconnect the phone lines publicly. There was one phone in the neighborhood, owned by a telecommunications officer. My cousin and I crawled through our lane to his house and through whispers we woke him up and made a call to the operator at the Post and Telegraph Exchange office. Those were the days when one could not dial long distance numbers directly. One had to book a call through a PNT operator. I begged the operator to call just one number in Delhi to inform my wife about the passing away of her mother-in-law, and that she should inform our relatives about this, and that they in turn should inform every relative they knew. But no one should think of coming to Srinagar. I did not sleep all night. I waited for the morning, and finally at daybreak, I zipped up my jacket and left our lane to speak to the cops who had watched us last night to bring the body back home, hoping that as they knew about the tragedy, they would be sympathetic and listen to my request. When I came out, I noticed a machine gun aimed directly at our lane with its belt of bullets flowing down the sides, like the ones seen in Hollywood films. Behind the gun was a soldier positioned to shoot. The image was frightening. Watching me walking towards him with my hands in the air, the soldier behind the machine screamed, "Hey, hands up! Mat lege jaa kya? Wapas ja! Nahi to goli lagegi!" Have you come out to be shot? Do you have a death wish? Go back. Otherwise you will be hit by a bullet. From his accent, I realized that the soldier was from Haryana. Last night the cops were from the northeast. They changed guard overnight. I realized that this person had no idea about the death in our family. As I kept moving towards him, he spat out all kinds of cuss words, not listening to what I was trying to explain to him. Finally, when I was face to face with him, I explained to him in pure Hindi why I was out on the road risking my life. I presumed the reason he did not shoot me was because I kept my hands up all the time. My friend Amitabh Srivastava had told me that when he was in Poland with the National School of Drama Performance during the anti-communist rule of General Janowski, he had been caught in a similar situation. A cop had shouted at him in Polish, a language he could not understand, of course. Some cautionary passing pedestrian grabbed his arms, pulling them out of his pockets and sent him in the air. He was saved from being shot. Standing before the cop with a machine gun, I said, "मेरी माँ का देहांत हुआ है, शमशान जाना है, उनका दाह संस्कार करना है, परमिशन चाहिए." I needed permission to take my mother's body to the cremation ground. I pleaded. He was in a foul mood and said, "Aaj na koi aayega, na koi jayega, bhag sare." Nobody was going to venture out and fuck off. I persisted, explaining to him that we could not keep a dead body at home. हम घर में शव को नहीं रख सकते. Now another cop appeared with a stun gun on his shoulder. He asked me, "Hey, क्या बात है? साले क्या करने निकला है? घर में पानी है? What is the matter? What have you ventured out for? Is there water at your home?" I replied, "Yes." He ordered me to go and fetch him a jug of water. "Dawad jaldii hai." Run, hurry. I ran back. My sister-in-law had been watching this all from the glass window, shivering in fear. I asked her to get some water. She did, but kept begging me not to go back. I took the jug of water from her and ran back to give it to the cop. Taking that, the cop disappeared into another lane. I think he wanted to clean his ass, having shat somewhere in the lane. After some minutes, he came back. All the while, I kept my hands in the air. Now, the machine gun cop asked this one to take me to Sahab. With a stun gun aimed at my back, I moved towards the police station, which was about half a mile away. While I walked, Hassan, my childhood friend, saw me from the window. He was surprised to see me with a cop and called out to me in Kashmiri, "What happened? When did you arrive? Where are they taking you?" I only told him, "My mother is no more, and I'm going to the police station for permission to cremate her." I kept moving. At the police station, a big grey police truck sat outside the station with a unit of the Central Reserve Police Force, Jawans with their weapons, stun guns and light machine guns on duty. Seeing me with the cop pointing his gun at my back, the one Jawan shouted, "Where did you get it from?" Most of the Jawans laughed. They presumed some bearded terrorist had been caught. I don't blame them. With my Kashmiri looks, jacket and unclean appearance, I looked like one of them. When the door of the police station opened, I saw a Sikh commander sitting next to a Bukhari, keeping himself warm at the local timber theatre. He gave me a look and said yes in English. I was relieved, realizing that he was an educated English-speaking officer, probably of a senior rank. I explained everything to him and asked for help so that I could cremate my mother. He paused for a moment, gave me a look and said, "I know you people have many difficulties. I can give you a truck for this purpose. Is the body ready?" The truck started winding its way through the main roads of the city. That day we must have been the rare lot of people driving through the city with a dead body. There was not a soul on the roads, except the soldiers and their weapons. The truck did not dare pick up speed. That would have been an offense in the eyes of the soldiers. Every 200 feet, the soldiers had blocked the road with big coils of barbed wires. At each point, we had to stop. The soldiers would order all of us to get out of the vehicle and then conduct a thorough search of everyone. They would order us to show them the face of the dead body by lifting the shroud from the face to make sure we were not carrying someone else instead of a dead body. The soldiers would take a look at the lifeless body, fold their hands in a namaskar, drop their heads in reverence or from fear of seeing a dead face, and then order us to move forward. These checkpoints took a lot of time as we were stopping every 200 or 300 feet. It became suffocating. How many times did we have to remove the shroud from my mother's face? It angered me. At one checkpoint, the soldier asked me, "How did she die? What was her disease?" At another, they asked us our names. And once they confirmed we were all Hindus, they allowed us to move on. However, we had a Muslim friend with us. So we asked him to change his name to Suresh. But we were quite afraid that this could land us into deep trouble. For him, that would have been particularly horrible. When we crossed one of the bridges near Chota Bazaar, near the second bridge of Habakadal, there was a loud burst nearby. We stopped our vehicle and froze. We heard the sounds of guns being loaded, and within a few seconds, hundreds of soldiers ran in all directions, some of them taking positions near us. Most of us panicked. I got the fright of my life and went to the driver who was shaking, scared to death. asked my brother to go to the back of the truck and I sat next to the driver. I asked my brother to light a cigarette for the driver. The driver puffed on the cigarette as if he was eating it. After a few moments, he recovered from his panic. I kept talking to him to make him relax. I noticed a young army officer rushing towards us, shouting, "Move out, fast, and clear the place!" Our driver by now had recovered and pressed the accelerator to rush out of the place. From that point on, we didn't face much tension and we soon reached the cremation ground. Someone wondered what we would do if there was no cremation van there. I said we will do it ourselves. Once we brought the body down from the truck, I found a graceful, pious-looking, white-bearded man emerging from behind the chinar trees. He called and gestured to us to come that way. He was our cremation man, a Muslim. In Kashmir, it is a centuries-old tradition that Muslims perform the cremation ceremony for Kashmiri Hindus. There is a saying that the bond between the Kashmiri Hindus and Muslims stretches from birth to death. My mother's cremation happened with all the customs and details being taken care of by the Guruji of Sheetal Nath and this pious cremation van. When finally we prepared to leave the place, I was heavy-hearted, yet felt as if a weight had lifted from my chest. A sense of peace descended upon me. All I had wanted was a timely funeral for my mother, and that had been achieved despite the horrible situation. All with the support of my three cousins, Jawahar, Manohar, Tej, a Muslim friend, and the Guruji of Sheetal Nath Temple. Thank you.
रैना साहब ने एक बड़ी कमाल की पिक्चर अभिनय किया था, इसका नाम है तारे ज़मीन पर। और उसके उस मार्मिक गीत को याद करना अनायास हो जाता है, स्वाभाविक। उसके लिरिक्स कुछ ऐसे थे, नरेंद्र भट्ट जी के थे मिगता से। मैं कभी बतलाता नहीं, पर अंधेरे से डरता हूँ मैं माँ। जब ये मैंने पढ़ा इस किताब में, अनायास ही आंसू उतर आए और इस गहराई के साथ पूरे चीज को दर्शाया है और बताया है। ये एक सीख भी है हम सबके लिए। और मैं इसलिए सबसे गुजारिश करूँगा खासतौर पर उनसे जिन्होंने समोसा और चाय पी है, किताब जरूर है। खासतौर पर दिल्ली में बदला लेना जरूरी है, ये जरूरी है। With a heavy heart and with this lighter joke, I will now request both Ashok ji की आज हमारे ऑफिशियल होस्ट तो वही हैं और रैना जी to take this forward और दिल से दिल की बात करें और कुछ किताब के अंदर की बातों से हमें अवगत करें। और आइए।
Friends, before we engage in a conversation, I thought I must tell you something about the book. Luckily, you have heard some parts of the book. As you are no doubt aware, our times are times when we are being told to forget. Both social memory and personal memory are under assault. And therefore it is important that memory is preserved somewhere. And the best way to preserve the memories is to put them on paper. And this is what has happened. And therefore it's important that before I forget, I put it on. Most books, ideally, are repositories of memory, apart from imagination and reality and other things. Now let me say that this is a book about theatre in bloody times. And it's very interesting that MK has decided to at least not keep that account in much detail, that he has worked in so many languages, worked in so many parts of the country. All that is not in this book. It's mentioned cursorily. But the book is about Kashmir, the Delhi riots, anti-Sikh riots, then the murder of Sardar Hashmi and the Sehmat initiatives. It's then about Punjab under terrorism and back to Kashmir. So its range is this. And what is, and you must have noticed this already by the extracts that you have heard, there is an insistence and a discovery of the irrepressible human everywhere. So you discover a human being in a person who's talking to his wife. You discover a human being in the cremation ground. You discover so there is this, and therefore this is an uplifting book in that sense, that it uplifts you and in a manner of speaking assures you that in spite of everything, the human survives. It's also about human camaraderie. Theatre, in any case, is a group activity. But in this case, when theatre is taking place in these very strange, unusual, extraordinary, threatened circumstances, the kind of human camaraderie that comes into existence and creates meaningful theatre is also part of the account. I'm reminded of Susan Sontag, who went to Sarajevo. She was not a theatre person. She was an intellectual and a critic of great reputation. But she decided to go to Sarajevo to produce Samuel Beckett. And this is what Raina has been doing in terms of what he did in Punjab and what he did in Kashmir. It also, in a manner of speaking, affirms the trust in the utterly ordinary. The book has many ordinary people of several kinds, in several vocations, at several locations, at several idiosyncrasies. But they're all there, and they are trustworthy in the sense that they help, they emphasize, they find a way out to it. The other thing which made me somewhat jealous, you know, poets are jealous animals, at least I am, and I've been surrounded all my life with arts, and I was jealous of all of them. But theatre, in this case, that theatre is possible in every place and in every time. Whatever may be the times, constraints of time, and how murderous and bloody the time is, and you may have no space. So here performances have taken place in all kinds of places. So it again makes you realize that theatre is possible not only in any time, in any place. And there is this negativity brought into the life. To call it negativity will be a very inadequate description. But the kind of negativity that is brought into the lives of the people in these circumstances, in these times and these locations, that negativity can be confronted and for the time being adjourned or superseded by the positivity of the creative imagination. This happens all through the book. And theatre works in circumstances like this as an agency of healing, an agency of almost a kind of a social therapy. And this is also another, that maximum theatre is possible with minimal of resources. Not only financial resources, which are almost throughout minimal, once or twice there's some money, which can be too long, otherwise most of the times. And I have known MK for now 50 years. Soon after he had done his NST, my father-in-law Nimiji recommended he wanted to organize in Madhya Pradesh theatre training camps, and he was one of them. And he also did a remarkable enactment of poetry, which is Kohre Mein Aadmi Ka Dhabba, which was the line of Vinod Kumar Shukla. I mention in the book, however, only once. And that too, not by him, but by a major sarod player of Delhi, who was invited to perform in Anhad Garje, and he wanted to know the people behind this Anhad Garje. And he asked, all of you would know who he is. He asked, is Ashok Vajpayee behind this? And of course he got a resounding no, because I was talking. So I'm mentioned by my absence. But anyway, let me now engage with him in conversation. Tell us, you have told in the book, so I know what made you write the book. But tell this rather awesome, eager, about to lead audience. Why did you decide to write the book? I mean, you are not, this is your first ever book. You have never written, you have not even essays.
Yes, we write dramatic plays, we write a lot of things. I write a lot of films particularly. This was, you see, there were two things. Whenever I used to leave Delhi, I used to leave Delhi for months. And the buzz in Delhi was a little bit, Rana to theatre nahi karta hai, wo pata nahi kya karta hai, koi sehmat mein karta hai. So I was a little bit worried, and they don't know what I am doing. And then again, I wasn't a writer, I was writing, but I used to go to some universities and teach, and these friends would always tell, Sham ko main unko kahaniyan sunata tha. What happened here, what happened there. Giggling, laughing, and at one point, when I was telling the horrible story, The lady said, how can you laugh? In Kashmir when this much was happening. I said, no, the only thing Kashmiris can do is they laugh at themselves. All the time passes. Everybody has a nickname. Every family has a nickname. And that is one enzyme which keeps us going. But then it was also the friends were telling me, no, because this is a conflict area, you work in these dangerous areas. This should be told to people, or particularly to the students of theatre or in creative work, that there is a possibility of working. You can work. You don't always need a comfortable air-conditioned places, because there is less challenge for me there. A lot of challenges when you are working with the communities. And believe me, I always believe theatre will survive if its community is with it. If you are doing theatre away from the community, forget about it. You are nowhere. So, friends were discussing at Samak one day, this happened at Ayodhya, how did this? Then friend of mine Rajan said, no, this happened. And then Raghavan said, no, I just like the yaad nahi, I said, oh, you are all going old. So I still remember every bit of it. I am going to start writing it. Then COVID happened. And I had nothing to do. I mean, I used to be every month traveling, working. One day I got very suffocated and I just took a car out with my 2 little kids of my domestic help and drove for 1.5 hours in Noida, UP, I don't know where I was. Then came back home and next morning I took a register, a big register. I don't like writing those papers, I can't do computer business. Good. And so I had this bound gift given to me by 2 registers, a friend of mine, and I started writing. And it was getting up in the morning, 9 o'clock, like a good theatre person. I take a bath and sit. So taza aadmi hota hai. So 1 baje tak अच्छी तरह से. And it went on and on for months. That's all. And I think it is very important. Purushottam Agarwal told me after he realized that I have written a book. He said, we all have to write now. Remember all of you. The times are so bad. Erasing, in fact, my principal, Nadim, once I asked him, sir, aap kya likh rahe? He's a great poet. He said, Heather in Kashmiri, which means Leupoderma. He said, Kashmir was written in Kashmir. There's a Leupoderma said, things will be pavement itself. So I think for all of us who are concerned about our nation, about our society, about our people, about our past, about what we are, what should we be, please start writing before they write their story.
I do hope you don't take it seriously. Because you want to start writing books. You will have been in the business of writing books will be out of job. So don't take it too seriously. When you said old man, you looked at me. Why did you? No, I don't know. Anyway. The one thing which intrigues me, which is not in the book, is that you have worked in so many different areas. I think you will be one of the very few who will have worked in so many parts of the country, from northeast to Punjab to Madhya Pradesh to Kashmir to Kerala, Punjab, etc. And theatre is something which takes place in language. So you have worked in so many languages. Did you ever? How do you do theatre in a language which you do not know? How do you do theatre in a language which is completely unknown to you?
You see, for me, only dialogue is not the language of theatre.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not the text only. Even I'll give an example. I was in Oedipus Rex in Andhra Pradesh years back, and there's a word, Oedipus is never, never. And I have translation, and he was speaking, I said, no, this is not it. It is Kani, Kane, Kadu. I knew the word meaning, and he froze. He said, how do you understand this? And so from your face and from your tonality, I realized you are speaking lies. It's not what you have to speak. And then it's a practical situation. I have a local language expert next to me sitting. And I always chew his head all the time. And all the time go. And also, you see, for a director in theatre, I feel that if I sit in the brains of all my actors, there are 20 brains. Only my brain is not the super brain which will bring it all together. And I should be able to motivate all these 20 brains for the theme or for the cause which I am doing. And then you see everybody's contributing. You give that space. Everybody has ideas. I'll give the example. For example, now I love this country because it always surprises me. I went to Northeast. It was a very bad time. There was this Naga and Mighty Lalai Katlam. I got upset one day in the rehearsal. I said, I'm going, you're not working. And I left. They thought I was an actor, which I know. Next morning, I came 9 in the morning, I came and started. I was the final stage of this production I was doing. And I saw a young little actor to me. Young boy, local boy. Surjit, I know him. He said, Nishchal. Ordering, Nishchal. I said, "Tu jao kaam karo." I said, "Nahi, niche chalo, wait karo." So I said, okay. So I went in the hall of this people, and there were 60 youngsters working with me, 30 girls and 30 boys. I entered the room, I froze. That is what is the cultural moorings that gives, which is typical of Northeast. They were all in a circle that kept script at the center like an altar, and there was a mombati and there were some flowers, and they were all meditating. And the entire thing was in silence, and I said, what is going on? And I said quietly also in the circle. And they were all quiet. And after 2-3 minutes, they sort of came back from out of meditation and looked at me, asking me, so what? What is your decision? Almost was like this. And each one will get up and Sashtan Pranam Kartina to the script and quietly sit back. I also went, they say, I had tears in my eyes, to be honest. Because I told him, why did you do it? Tell me, explain to me this. He said, we realized after we left yesterday that we are not respected our script. That's why it went all wrong. So okay, let us start the work, and we did a very beautiful production. So I think, I also learned when I go there, it's a knowledge. मेरा भी लालच है जब हम मुझे मध्य प्रदेश में थे छत्तीसगढ़ तो तभी देखा नहीं बस तक तभी देखना था जब तो कहाँ नहीं गए वो घंटे मेरे घर पे भी पड़ी है so this is the real chance for me as a creative person to touch and the texture, the sound of the people and the smell of the people, eat with them. The cuisine tells you what people are like. India is not that you can read a history book and you understand it. It's layers and layers and layers. And I have been fortunate to grab these opportunities always. From 16,000 people to Ladakh to Kerala or to Northeast to Maharashtra. And I think every theatre person should do that. Today in India, theatre is the weakest point. And whatever theatre that is being done with the government money is a waste. It doesn't just wash out. It's a loot. Therefore, I think we all need, who are concerned about theatre, we need to go back to our communities, to our people, and do theatre there. And it is possible. If there is space, theatre is possible.
Among the work that you did during the anti-Sikh riots, you have narrated an incident where a Sikh gentleman, an old man perhaps, ties a
child's underwear. See, I was in the first Kolar camp working because I was in the headquarters working. And we were running about 17-18 camps every morning. We'll leave early in the morning. For 3-4 months, I left theatre. Some of my friends were in the screening committee. They said, I get to play karo. I said, no, I can't do a play. I need to work in the community. So I went there, and one day I went, I saw this old man sitting quietly, the child's underwear on his, covering his hair. And I was very upset about it because in my home, I used to wash my Dauji's safa every day and then give it to him fresh. And I asked him in my broken Punjabi, I said, Darji, ek hi hai. Pagni, to ki kare kaka? Izzat di gal hai. So that, what do we say to that? I mean, his izzat has been taken away from him. Then at the headquarters, we put the notice, we don't need your jeans and we don't need to please give us shalwar, kameez, pagdi. And that is this country. I'm sitting in, I come back at 11 o'clock, 12:30, I get a call, because that time mobiles were not there. Get a call, because we used to keep our telephone numbers on the board there. You can contact these numbers. I get a call in Punjabi, Rana sahab hai? Uncle ji, haan hai. Kaun bol rahe? Ji, main ab truck leke aaya hu ji. मैं कहा जी साहब ने कहा कि तोड़े को रिपोर्ट करना है। मैं क्या कहाँ हो तुम? कहने लगे भाई वो ये कह रही है मेडिकल इंस्टीट्यूट है जी इधर। मैं डिफेंस कॉलेज रहता था। ऐसे पूरे दिन को I rushed and I found a huge truck, big truck, filled with safas, shalwar, kameez, fine. And you know ऐसे मुझे खजाना मिल गया। Literally it was a खजाना। कुछ चलो। So we took him to Lajpat Bhavan, that was our headquarters where we were working. And मैंने कहा तू कहाँ से आया भाई? तो घर से स्टाफ ने कहा है मुझे रिपोर्ट करने को कहा है। मैं आपके का ड्यूटी पर हूँ। जितने दिन आप मुझे रखेंगे मुझे रहना है। पेट्रोल की आपको चिंता नहीं करनी, मेरे खाने की चिंता नहीं करनी, मैं सब कर दूंगा। आया कहाँ से? ना जी वो नहीं कहना। साहब ने कहा वो नहीं जरूरत नहीं है जी उसकी। बस काम बस। Then you understand. Then I could talk to myself, the same city in 1 week by was killing people here. And huge things on the other side is also happening. And believe me, he worked for a month with us. I was really guilty with the child, मेरे साथ ना जी करो. And that was an ex-serviceman type. And after that, faith comes to me, my optimism is very important for me. I don't give a damn. नहीं होगा करके देखेंगे क्या होगा फेल हो जाएंगे ना I mean I got this किताब में है काफी जगह 4 fighters and I was shot dead almost but I didn't lose my cool somehow I was cool फ्लाइट चल रही चारों तरफ शीशे उड़ रहे हैं ये हो रहा है कमरे पर उसी कमरे पर फायर चल रहा था it was a flying attack but I came out and after that I don't want to become a hero that was a very conscious each one has to work in such a situation. Don't try to go tomorrow to media, I did this, I did that. You have to be quiet. If you want to work, you should be invisible. I had my junior students from grammar school who volunteered to work with me. There were 4 conditions to them. You have to melt in the public. You should not be dressed in jeans, you will not be dressed in shalwar kameez. One of them was smoking. I said, give me an undertaking, you don't smoke in the public. Please, you should not be seen. Then you are sitting dark. And they worked, and believe me, they worked in the Anantnag area. One day there was a shutdown completely, suddenly something happened, some boys were shorted and they were caught in a shop. Shutter went down there. I get a call, don't worry, we are late, will come. I said, no, I saw. Then the man who owned the shop says, आप चिंता नहीं करिए सर, वो बच्चियाँ मेरे साथ मेरे घर वालों के साथ खाना वाना खा के, I will phone you when they will come back. So you know people, there are कोई कहना कि जहाँ शैतान है वहीं भगवान भी है. It's like that. बगल है उसके.
You did in your Bharat Pathe workshop King Lear.
Yes.
Why? How?
ये लंबी कहानी छोटा कर दूंगा मैं. ये हुआ कि मैं इसी ये बाण जैसे नौटंकी के लोग होते हैं या यात्रा के हैं ट्रेडिशनल ड्रामा करने वाले वो ऑल पीपल ब्रिलियंट एक्टर्स उनका अपना व्याकरण है उस तरह से करते हैं. तो उनको टेररिस्ट ने खूब पीटा था. घर आके 1-2 को गोली भी मारी थी. उनके कॉस्ट्यूम जलाए गए थे. इस पे किसी ने कुछ लिखा भी नहीं क्या वो था ही नहीं. It was invisible. But I had worked in 82 with them. So I was almost known to them. I phoned them. I came to know that Ustad is dead. उसको ट्रायल की गई थी, 5 बंदूक वाले आए थे, ट्रायल की गई थी, तो गोली मारने के लिए ले जा रहे थे। सारे गांव वाले उसके ऊपर पड़ गए, पहले हमको गोली मार दो। Somehow the deal was done कि इतने पैसे उसको जुर्माना है और ये घर से बाहर नहीं निकलेगा, जिस दिन ये बाहर निकालेंगे हमसे गोली मारेंगे। तो 8-9 महीने के बाद he deteriorated and he was an old man also and he passed away. So this was always bothering me. One day I went to the village and I found as if somebody is dying when they saw me. रो रहे, बुढ़े भी रो रहे, औरतें भी रो रहे, रोना ही रोना था। फिर मैंने कुछ करोगे, करना चाहोगे, 10 साल से नहीं किया था। For 10 years there was no performance of these people in the public at all. And I asked once Swarnai played the Shehnai, ऐसा तुमने कब शहनाई कहता? 10 साल हुए। तो निकालता हूँ कभी, थोड़े तेल से साफ करता हूँ, फिर उसको बैग में रख के हील से टांग के रखता हूँ। तो it is like a writer is no paper or pen. A singer cannot sing, he can't use his ears. I mean, it's like a fascist situation. So I work very quietly. I had to work very hidden behind a mountain. We were working. We work. First, did their own repertoire. I did their own repertoire. They had nothing. 5-10 plays of theirs. And one day there's a play of theirs called Darzapada. And this Manmohan, his name is an actor. He's a fantastic actor. I suddenly hated something. I looked at him and said, Lear. To me, I said to myself, Lear. So, play खत्म हुआ ऐसे तो मोहम्मद तुम्हें एक बहुत बड़ा काम करना है, एक अच्छा रोल करना है। तो बेचारे को भी समझ नहीं आता, कांगड़िया बनाता है, बाकी क्या करता है, गुजारा करता है। Then I told them a story of India. बादशाह क्या था, बिल्कुल गांव वाले के सिवा। But then cultural issues were discussed. It took us 1 month to convince ourselves how we will do it. Then we got a Kashmiri translation by some lecturer, which they read 4 times. We read and they threw it out. And ये कौन बोलता है? ऐसे तू कश्मीरी ऐसे होते हो क्या? कौन बनेगा? क्या है? ये क्या तुझे पता डायलॉग क्या है? कौन बोलता है ऐसा? I said, so this will not work. No. So then what we did, the senior group got together, 8, 10 of us, and Rakesh is there with my, क्या कहूँगा, my backbone every time I do work. And we sat together and each one of us was putting a sentence and it would be, no, ये नहीं चलेगा, ये नहीं चलेगा. It went for 1 month till we got a skeleton script done by all of us together. But when we did the first draft of it, we built it in the space and flight. And after the 3rd show and 4th show, Zafik started happening. They started seeing the distribution of land, their tragedy. Children are, killing, the wars between the children, their problem. And in fact, there's a big statement one of the senior Barnes made, which is in the film, there's a film also. He said, ये बादशाह की कहानी नहीं है, ये किसी गांव की कहानी भी हो सकती है, ये किसी घर की भी कहानी हो सकती है, जहाँ हेडी जो हो उसका ही दिमाग खराब हो जाता है, ये तो होना ही था. So they made their relationship, the whole text, and when the last child dies, in the performance which I saw, I still remember Mahmood looked straight in the audience. And we checked him out, you killed him. He changed the whole dialogue. And I asked him at the end, Mahmood, tune kya kiya? He said, I have buried young children here, and they are dead. Mujhe wo dikh rahe the, iska chehra dekh. So because one thing, we changed it from daughters to sons, which they didn't accept daughters. उन्होंने कहा, लड़की अगर भीख भी मांगी कि वो बाप को घर से नहीं निकालेगी, ये तो है ही नहीं हमारे यहाँ, ये चलेगा नहीं, पर बताओ, लड़का करेगा. So it was a very common decision together. Okay, then we worked on this. Then we did this play, and in the first performance, one life story I'll tell you. The first opening, what you call a premiere of this show is a hill outside the hill. People sit on the hill and they have made a space like a old ancient Greek type. Each is we are doing this play there. One day before that, we are meeting after the show, And I see one of the them telling, Rana Saab, Purana Mane, I have to tell you something called Jumai, Friday hai. Anantnag is 20 kilometers from here, and many boys have died there, store cutting, and you must have read the newspapers. So people will misunderstand us. I said, okay, we want to, don't do tomorrow, do it on Saturday, jab tomorrow. But I will have to leave now, मुझे घर जाना है, 1.5 महीना 2 महीने आ रहा हूँ, I'll go. सर नहीं, and one of the other boys said, क्यों? नहीं सर सुनिए, कल ही होगा. मैं कहा नहीं, बुलाया सर नहीं है, सब चलना है, तुम्हारी दादागिरी नहीं चलेगी. सर नहीं, हम सभी जाएंगे, पहले नमाज पढ़ेंगे. नमाज पढ़ने का हम वापस आएंगे, कुछ नहीं होगा. Also, do you agree to this sort of yes, it's possible वगैरह. And they decided we do. So we don't advertise. People come on their own. And by 11 in afternoon, 11:30, he was getting filled with people. Women, children, good day, खेल छोड़ के आ रहे, आज drama होगा. We went, they went to the namaz, we are preparing their costume. And they came back, and this fellow had said, गड़बड़ हो जाएगा. तो उसको मैंने, I saw him smiling. मैं कहा, रसूल कैसा रहा? ये सब बहुत हरा, ये होना नहीं चाहिए. थोड़ा खींचे आया भी. मैं क्या हुआ? मैं तो किसी ने कोई धमकी दी होगी. मुझे इधर आ, मुझे पता क्या हुआ? अरे सर यार नहीं, बहुत गलत बात है, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. मैं कहा हुआ क्या? He said, जो यहाँ नमाज के लिए लाइनों में बैठ गए ना, किसी ने विस्पर में कहा कि जल्दी को ड्रामा शुरू होने वाला है. यहाँ तक तो ठीक था, जो बोल नहीं था उससे नमाज खत्म कर दी. और सब लोग आ रहे हैं साथ में, तुझे देखो आ रहे हैं सारे लोग.
It's a long story, but the other part when somebody stood up and said you can't do it.
No, that happened because अब तो शेयर हो गए ना, 5,000 लोग प्ले देख रहे हैं, 10,000 लोग देख रहे हैं, तो हम तो ज़्यादा बढ़ गए. So we wanted, now we became good theatre people, that we will record it with 2-3 cameras. So we hunted for a location for a beautiful chinar tree. And we said, away from the village, from village to village we go, यहाँ करेंगे. तो हम we stayed there. Anant was, there were 3 cameramen hired. One was Anant was doing one, and the other 2 were coming from the city. Group mode, he mode, with them, and I'm still waiting for the cameras to arrive, 2 cameras to arrive. In Philippines, by the time this mobiles had come, so I asked Anand, क्या हो रहा है? He said, I can't move, people are so much mob is coming to watch this play, गांव से चलने के लिए slow हो रहा है हमारा, so it will take us time to reach. So okay, after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, he gave me a call, जल्दी आ जाओ, गड़बड़ हो गया. There was one of these separates. Then here, Al-Nalai, Takbir, Allahu Akbar, turned the entire mob against the play, and यहाँ पर जो अगर play करेगा, यहाँ लाशें गिरेगी. I am giving you 30 minutes to clear out. By the time I reached, he saw me and he started attacking, shouting at me, and everybody. And I said, no, we will not do the play. हमारा काम ही नहीं play करने का, इस वक्त कौन हो जाएगा. And my assistant Mansoor told me, sir, मैंने सुना उसके पास pistol है. I said, no, there is no problem here. She then there will be police. अच्छा police को बोला था, वो आता ही नहीं है, there are so many problems for them. So we started taking our trunks down from the hill, and we come down, and public, 300 people here, 300, 400 here, shouting at us, you cannot go, you have to do the play. आप कैसे जाएंगे? आपको play करना है तो हमारे गले बैठ गए चीख के कि नहीं आएंगे, फिर आएंगे, आज छोड़ दो. And one boy came out, young boy. He said, देखो, you want me to cut his stomach, I'll do it right away. I got frightened more, and the violence was on my hand. And he was with Rati that, cartoon का way. I shouted to. He said, अगर तुम नहीं आज करोगे, हम तो हार गए ना फिर. I said, यार क्या करेंगे? No, वैसे नहीं play तो होगा नहीं. And show चल रहा है. इतने में एक बुलडोजर वहां से आया, तो उन्होंने हमारी गाड़ी के सामने जिसमें सामान था ना मैटाडोर में, उसके सामने रखा, तुम जा नहीं सकते. इतने में हमारे ट्रक वो दूसरे गांव के आए, अक्रॉस हिल, हमारे यहाँ चलो, ट्रक लेके वो निकल रहे थे. ट्रक चलो यार, क्या करो, हम तुझे खाना नहीं खिलाएंगे, तुम गलत आए हो, फीस छोटा है हमारे, एक रवायत है वो आपको दावत देते हैं तो पूरा खाना वाजवान चलता है. We are still going. Then women came and बकरवाल था कि हमारा कल्चर है ये, हमारा फैमिली में वो चल रहा है, ये लेक्चर करा वो लेक्चर करा. Then an old man, very old man, तस्बीह और में थी, उसने मुझे यूँ की इधर आ, he said, son, तुम प्ले करो, हम अपनी जान देंगे, तुम करो तुम डरो नहीं. I thought, public is with you and there is a message in this old man is that pious man. And the moment ऐसे करके चलो करेंगे, हमारा साउंड 2 सेकंड में पार्ट पे चढ़ गया, फटाफट लोग नहीं उठा सकते. And we did the play. Play चल रहा है, and बीच में मैं देखूँ कैसा चल रहा है. तो इतना एरिया जो बना था ना एक्टिंग करने के लिए, पीछे से लोग आते रहते थे, तो ये छोटा छोटा हो गया. तो एक्टिंग एरिया जो था वो थोड़ा आगे चल. By the time Mr. Lear had to die, there was only that much space.
So the books that the copies that you have bought of the book, you will find it that you can read it. It's a very readable book also. You can read it at one go. I read it in almost 2 days. And which also means that you should buy a copy. You have suffered us so long, and you have also taken good samosa and coffee, and you will be going home and sort of doing good things. So one of the things they should do before you leave is to pick up a copy, if you haven't done it already. But there is this, and let's finish in 4 or 5 minutes. You are wanting to meet Bhindrawale's father, which extract was read.
You see, suddenly Mirza appears, the friend, the filmmaker. So सबका दोस्त है, मुझे मदद करो. I want to make a documentary film on the post Bhindrawala thing. It was now 85, summer, June, this month. So Madan Gopal Singh and we are volunteers, we know Punjab, so we will go with you. Not one day, if you succeeded in Patiala having a debate in the university students, so you get confident enough. So finally one day we said, okay, why don't we go to Rodea? So Rodea is Bhindrawala's native village. So we went there and you could see from city that things are, and now the poverty villages start, poor villages. And I saw this village where you Matti Tagar and farmers. There was this mother who looked us after very well for 3-4 hours we were with them. And his papa, who had his FA, I still remember in 1948, but he said, job nahi mila to main case karunga. And his brother who is identical like him. I said, I want to talk. He said, nahi, ye de siyasati karna hai to. And हमारे पिता father जो है वो अमृतसर गया हुआ, वो वहीं पर हैं. Bhindrawala's father, he had emerged by that time to be after him, the kind of a leader. So one day we reached, we shot the village, we shot a lot of things there, and then we reached Amritsar. And in Amritsar, he was in one of the rooms of this Harmandir Sahib. There was a lot of Russian people. There were too many journalists asking him questions. And what he was an old grandfather-like figure, who was a villager basically. Now, there was one Mr. Khanna who was like his PA or whatever you may call it. So, if you had asked him Hindi, he could understand it. So, Khanna Sahib understands it. And he passed his question to me. And there was a journalist from India Today, Bose. What was his name? Padma, you know the name. So, he asked him a question in English. Mr. Khanna is yes. And he now tells to Bhindrawala's father, question changed. And then old man is giving you a reply, and you see, I understand little Punjab to answer. By the time Mr. Khanna reports back to him, answer has changed also. It was basically, was the Khanna, I wasn't fixed up, I was sitting next to him. And then the fourth, said, why are you laughing? I said, do you realize what you are asking? He is not replying. What do you like? What do you mean? I said, Mr. Khanna is making his own interview. He is not making. I don't know what he did with that. Then I got a term. उन्होंने कैसेट प्लेयर होते थे ना, मैंने वो भी रखा and camera को tripod पे बोला I have camera रखी. And the funny thing, media is such a thing, ना everybody wants to become a hero. Till then, old man was sitting like this. He the moment camera tripod moved from here to cross pair, decorated those Nishan's house and said like this. तो उनको क्या बोल जाओ? मैंने कहा दादी मैंने ये बताओ तुसी अब क्या कर रहे हो? देखा मेरी तरफ के पहले कल दसो ये जो सारा कौम है ना तू मानदा ही कौम है? मगर ये मेरे कहने से की मतलब पड़ता है तो सीधा सुनता है जो कहने जो बात कहो नहीं तू दस पहले मैंने कि मानदा कि नहीं मानदा? मैं कहा ये आपको जो बोलना है बोले ना मेरे क्या मानने से क्या हो? कोई मानदा कि नहीं मानदा? मैं कहा बोले और मानदा कि नहीं मानदा? मैं कहा नहीं मानदा। फिर मुझे कोई नहीं रहता तो मांगी कर ले नहीं है। There are stories and stories and stories.
And these stories, various anecdotes and encounters and what, it's
But what was moving after that, we went to Jalandhar. In Jalandhar, we wanted to do this Kesari group. Punjab Kesari group. Lal Jagat Narayan. And his son was killed, Ramesh. And it was frightening. The moment we entered, it was completely fortified by rings of security, and there was this Fiat car there. And it had bullets from all sides. Like, you know, I have written it, like Godfather, you remember when that happened, the shooting. And it was there. And we went up, we were frisked thoroughly. Then we went and met the younger brother. And his son first, आज कहाँ से हमारा मीटिंग है आपके साथ यूँ टेबल पर उसका हाथ है कि मैं अच्छा कब कहाँ से आए क्या आ रहे आप थोड़ी polite conversation he just removed his hand like this. It was a small pistol. He was ready if anything comes to him, he will shoot us because they had trained themselves. Then I went and talked to the uncle who was after Ramesh, who is still there, and डॉक्टर ने कहा डर लगता कि यहाँ आपकी बेटी ने तो कैसे ही रखा था जो घर में कहा मैं कहा इसमें फूलिया निकला दे पहले तब मैं तेरे साथ बात करना है तू क्या डॉक्टर इसे आपको पता है ना साहब आपको कितने लोग देख रहे हैं मुड़ के देखो it was glass gunmen all over watching us. If we do something else they will open fire. The horrible times, you know. To understand what is called a shoot at sight order or for 24 hours for 1 month, 2 months, it only you can dream about it. In Kashmir, in the beginning, 3:30 in the afternoon, if you are not back home, people start worrying. हमने पहला प्ले जो किया श्रीनगर में 1 बजे करना पड़ा ताकि 3 बजे तक घर पहुंचे लोग. स्ट्रीट पे कोई नहीं मिलता था. So these are, you know, those images still, you know, they sometimes really horrifying. But there are a lot of funny things also happen. I was there to have a dinner with a friend of mine next to a hotel. And I crossed and I found somebody being bashed up there. मैंने कहा क्या कर रहे हो? तुम कहाँ जा रहे हो? मैंने कहा मुझे जाना है. Was a journalist friend of mine. उसके बैठा हम छोड़ देते हैं. And this was a jeep. I could have disappeared. I mean, किसको पता था मैं कौन हूँ कहाँ हूँ क्या हूँ? And they overshot. And then कोई यार कहाँ जा रहे हैं? कोई मुझे आता उतरने के बाद फ्रेंड ऑफ माइन टोल्ड, तो कहाँ से ये सब कहाँ से आ रहा है? मैं वो पुलिस वाले तो आगे कभी गाड़ी नहीं बैठना है. We don't never know that you are picked up. So there are.
So friends,
But one the last word, I could not have done all this if there were not wonderful people in the valley, or in Punjab, or in Delhi, where they were.
well, friends, one of the songs which was sung did open a door of hope. And I hope that in the next few days, several doors of hope shall be opened. And I do hope that some of you will be the ones who will open the doors. Because in any case, you are about to vote in a few. Before we start company, I want to make an announcement on behalf of the Foundation that we are organizing on 27th May, which is Jawaharlal Nehru's death anniversary. He's one of the persons you are being told to forget as much as you can. And they are misinterpreting him all the time anyway. So this is a symposium of young scholars who have been requested also to deal with Nehru not with Bhakti Bhav but with criticality, thinking with Nehru. On 27th May, it starts in Jawahar Bhavan at 10 o'clock. There are 16 scholars and there are 3 themes: Nehru and India, Nehru and the world, Nehru and ideas. So those of you who would have voted for hope and change are most welcome to come to listen. Those who do not want hope or change may kindly remain at home. They need not bother. But let me thank you on behalf of the Raza Foundation and from for this wonderful evening which became possible because of your presence and responsiveness. And we are of course very thankful to M.K. Raina for having written a wonderful, uplifting book, and for all of you for having come in such heat, through such traffic jams, etc. Thank you very much.
To all of you, and I want to thank personally Ashokji. He has been an inspiration of half a century for me. He doesn't know it. I have promised him that I'm going to interview him now. And to IIC, to Ban, Fahim, and theatre group, some of the theatre group who came for the occasion that we, Ashokji wanted to change karna chahiye. So we said, okay, we'll sing songs. Thank you.
So for 27th there is another announcement. At 6:30 we have a performative reading on the life of Nehru. It's for Vital Vertela. Okay.